Hi class, welcome to week 5. This week's lesson is going to be solving two-step equations. I've labeled this part 1. These two-step equations will look very similar, and then we'll add on a little bit to this next week. So we'll spend a couple weeks doing two-step equations. This is adding on to the week before, so if you haven't had a chance to go and watch that video or do those notes where we just looked at one-step equations, make sure you go back and do that. Here we go. For two-step equations, you're going to have a number multiplied by a variable and then something else either added or subtracted. What you need to make sure that you do first is get rid of the number that's being added or subtracted. So in this case here, I'm going to add 5 to each side of the equation first. So that will cancel out and make this just 3e plus 0, or 3e for short. And then 13 plus 5 is 18. And then now you get to the end here where you have a one-step equation. So because this is 3 times a number, to get rid of that, you're going to divide each side by 3. So then you can always use your calculator for these. I just want to make sure you're showing your work. 1e, or you can just write e, equals 18 divided by 3, which is 6. That is your answer, and you can write that down and you're done. Now you can always take these and go back and check your work. If I show you on my calculator here how you can go back and check your work, just grab my calculator quick. Oh, we don't need that. What you would do is you do 3 times 6, which is 18, and that's what we had here. On this calculator, you're going to have to push equals in between, and then minus 5, and you get 13. So you should kind of see that work backwards, and you can go back and check all of these when you're done. Okay. For this next one, this is 4 times a number plus 4 equals 24. Make sure you always get rid of whatever's being added or subtracted first. So in this case, because you're adding 4 to some number you don't know, the inverse of that is to subtract 4 to get it to cancel out. But instead of just having w left, like we had last week, now we have 4w equal to 20. And then 4 times what number equals 20? Well, what you could do to get that is divide each side by 4. So w equals 20 divided by 4, which is 5. And again, you could always go back and check this on your calculator. For the next two, the variable is on the right side of the equation instead of the left side of the equation. That's okay. If you want, you could switch this around and rewrite it as 5y minus 3 equals 17. I've known students it's helpful for them to have that switched around. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. What you would notice here is that you're subtracting 3 from a variable. So you're going to add 3 to both sides. So 20 equals 5 times what number? And then you can divide each side by 5. So that y equals 4, or you could write it the way I wrote it and write 4 equals y. Both of those mean the exact same thing. So it's kind of a personal preference here. And then this last one, again, this is another one you could switch the order around if you wanted to write 2 plus 17t equals 19, you could do that. Or you're going to have to subtract 2 from each side. So 17 equals 17 times what number? Well, then you divide each side by 17. So 1 equals t, or you can write t equals 1. I have made all of these just pretty simple whole numbers. Make sure that you still show your work even if you're able to figure them out in your head, because when you get to algebra, you're going to have some that aren't quite so obvious with decimals or fractions or whatever, and having these steps down will be hopefully very helpful to you. I will see you guys next week.